I never thought my life would fall apart over crème brûlée, but there I was, in the middle of Le Jardin, a restaurant so pretentious it charged extra for still water, watching my husband raise a glass of champagne to my parents, our friends, and our son, before setting my world on fire. He smiled like a man in love, just not with me. I have something to share, he said, tapping his spoon against his glass. The room quieted, curious eyes turning toward him. My son, Elias, looked confused. My mother leaned forward, expecting another of Nathan's dramatic toasts. He always liked to make an entrance. This one, though, would be his exit. I've decided, Nathan said, to start a new chapter in my life. He paused, enjoying the tension. I already knew what was coming. I had known for weeks. But still, my stomach twisted. I'm leaving Lena. The room froze. Silverware clinked to a stop. Glasses hung midair. My father's mouth dropped open just slightly, as if he wasn't sure he heard right. Elias's fork slipped from his hand and hit the plate with a soft ping. I didn't move. I had prepared for this, rehearsed it in my head a dozen times. I'd imagined screaming, crying, even throwing wine in his smug face. Instead, I reached under the table and pulled out the envelope I had been holding onto for weeks. Thick, cream-colored, sealed with wax, because some things deserve drama. I slid it across the table to him. He blinked. What's this? My goodbye, I said calmly. In legal form. He looked down at the envelope like it might bite him. Lena. No, I cut in. You've had your speech. Now you get the paperwork to go with it. He didn't touch the envelope, just stared. The rest of the table sat in stunned silence. Somewhere behind us, a waiter coughed. I gave you everything, I said, keeping my voice low. My 20s, my 30s, my trust. I helped build your career, your image. I stood behind you at every launch, every press conference, every fake smile. And now, you want to walk away like it was nothing? Nathan opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came. I turned to Elias. His face was pale, confused, his 18-year-old eyes darting between us. I'm sorry, sweetheart, I said softly. You deserve better than this mess. Than him. He didn't say anything. He just nodded, slowly. I stood up, smoothed the fabric of my white dress. The one Nathan had said made me look powerful. For once, I believed him. And then I walked out of the restaurant. Out of the lie. Out of the life we'd built together. The air outside was thick with summer heat. I took a deep breath, heels clicking against the pavement as I crossed the street toward the black town car waiting for me. The driver opened the door wordlessly. He didn't ask what had happened inside. Good. I didn't feel like talking. Back at the hotel, I poured myself a glass of red wine, kicked off my shoes, and sat by the window, watching the skyline flicker. I should have cried. I should have screamed into a pillow or thrown something against the wall. Instead, I opened my laptop and clicked on the folder labeled Plan B. It had all started 4 months ago. The lipstick on his collar, the sudden business trips, the hotel bills that didn't match the company card, and then, her. I didn't know her name at first. Just the expensive perfume she left behind, and the soft blonde hairs I kept finding on the passenger seat of his car. I hired a private investigator. Call me cliché, but I wasn't going to accuse him without proof. What I got was more than I ever imagined. Nathan wasn't just cheating. He was planning to liquidate our joint holdings, move his new mistress into our weekend house in Napa, and push me out of the company we built together. My company, if we're being honest. I had founded it. He had just been the flashy mouthpiece. He thought I wouldn't fight back. He forgot who I was. So I did what any betrayed woman with brains and a law degree would do. I got ready. In the folder were files, emails, screenshots, financial statements, and one very special document, An offer from our biggest competitor. A buyout proposal. If I played it right, I could take the company, the house, and leave him with nothing but a mistress who thought he was richer than he actually was. I clicked play on one of the recordings. His voice, smooth and smug. She's weak. She won't leave. She's too comfortable. I smiled. Oh, Nathan, I whispered. You really should have known better. I looked at the envelope he had left unopened on the restaurant table. A copy sat here too, on the desk in front of me. The divorce papers were already signed. The prenup had a clause he clearly hadn't read. If infidelity was proven, he lost everything. And I had proof. Tomorrow, the press would get it too. My phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. All set. Release goes out at 10 a.m. He won't know what hit him. Good. Because this wasn't just about divorce. It was about justice. It was about reclaiming every part of myself I had tucked away over 16 years of compromise. This wasn't heartbreak. It was liberation. And I wasn't done. Not yet. The city felt different that morning. Lighter. Like it knew something had shifted. I stood on the balcony of my suite, coffee in hand, watching the traffic crawl through the streets like veins in a restless beast. Somewhere out there, Nathan was waking up, checking his phone, reading the press release that went live at exactly 10 a.m. Nathan Hart leaves Lena Bennett amid allegations of infidelity and financial misconduct. It was the first wave, not the full story, not yet. Just enough to rattle cages, to spark speculation, to make him sweat. I took another sip of coffee, my other hand hovering over the keyboard. The folder labeled Plan B was open, its contents organized like a war map. No, I hadn't slept. But I wasn't tired. I was running on something far stronger than caffeine. Clarity, purpose, anger sharpened into precision. At 10:16 a.m., the first call came. My lawyer. He's seen it, he said. And? He's furious. I smiled. Good. Then came the flood. Emails from reporters, investors requesting meetings, and finally, a message from Nathan himself. What the hell are you doing, Lena? I didn't respond. Instead, I called Sophie. We'd been friends since law school. She knew every part of me, especially the parts I'd tried to forget. While I went corporate, she went sharp-edged and fearless. Now she was one of the best divorce attorneys on the East Coast. You're early, she said, voice still rough from sleep. I've been up all night. Then I assume the first bomb dropped? It has. Want backup? Yes. We need to meet. Today. I want to go over the Denver property. A pause. The one next to the cabin? No, the lot registered in my name. The one with his hidden investments. You think it'll hold? I think it's enough to make him nervous. She sighed. Lena, this is going to get dirty. I know. Good, she said. Dirty's my specialty. By 1 p.m., I was at my PR firm's downtown office. Unlike the old days, I didn't share them with Nathan. I'd rehired Emma months ago, quietly, when things had started to fray. The press wants a statement, she said as I walked in. Let them wait. She looked at me carefully. And the board meeting? I'll be there. They may try to vote you out. Let them try. She hesitated, then leaned in. Do you have a plan? I smiled. I have Haven. Project Haven was my ace, a sustainable architecture startup I'd funded privately, without Nathan's involvement. It wasn't flashy, but it was solid, real, ethical, the exact opposite of Hart and Finch. And it was ready to go public, with me at the helm. We announce next week, I told Emma. Soft launch first, then interviews. They'll lose their minds. That's the idea. Later, I returned to my own apartment. Not the penthouse Nathan and I had shared. I'd left that behind the day I discovered the third affair. No, this was my place. a modest, sunlit space I'd bought before we ever married. The moment the door closed behind me, the adrenaline gave way to stillness, to ache, to truth. I took off my heels, poured myself a glass of white wine, and let myself breathe. For the first time in what felt like years, I had loved Nathan Hart, fiercely, unquestioningly. I had built an empire beside him, sacrificed my name, my credit, my sleep, my sanity. I had believed in the version of us he sold to the world, but somewhere along the way, I disappeared, became a shadow at his side. And when I finally found my voice again, he tried to silence it. I walked to the bookshelf and pulled out an old photo album. There it was. Me, Nathan, and our son Elias, age 3. My smile too wide, too forced. Nathan's arm around me, his eyes already somewhere else. I flipped the photo over, face down, and then I opened my notebook. I turned to a fresh page, wrote across the top in block letters, "What I'm taking back." Underneath I listed my name, my son, my voice, my company, my story, myself. I stared at the words for a long time, and then I underlined the last one, twice. This was only the beginning, and I wasn't stopping. Not now. Not ever. People say time heals everything. They're wrong. Time doesn't heal. It reveals. It shows you who's willing to stand in the wreckage, and who lit the match to begin with. That morning, I stood in front of the Hart and Finch boardroom in a navy silk blouse and the same heels I wore the day Nathan proposed. Not for nostalgia, for symbolism, for war. Emma met me by the elevators. "You ready?" "As I'll ever be." She handed me a folder. "Here's everything: the offshore accounts, the transfer logs, the shell companies I flipped through the pages. Clean, precise, undeniable." "Thank you," I said, "for believing me." She gave a tight smile. It's easy when someone finally stops pretending. The boardroom was as sterile and glossy as ever. Glass walls, walnut table, the skyline stretching behind Nathan like some kind of throne. He looked up when I entered, smirked. "Lena, unexpected." "I doubt that." He gestured to a chair. "Still playing Crusader?" I sat. "Still hiding behind lawyers?" The others arrived in staggered silence. Directors, investors, the legal team. No one made eye contact. No one smiled. Only Nathan. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "This meeting was scheduled to discuss your departure." I laid the folder on the table. "And this meeting is now about your exposure." The room stiffened. "What's this?" one of the directors asked. "Proof," I said calmly. "Of Nathan's private siphoning of company funds. 3 years' worth." Nathan's jaw clenched. "You're bluffing." I opened the folder, turned it toward the room. Bank records, limited liability companies tied to shell accounts. And here, I tapped the final page, a personal wire transfer from Hart and Finch to an account in the Cayman Islands. Signed by you. Silence. Heavy. Charged. "You can't be serious," he muttered. "I am." "You have no idea what you're doing, Lena." I stood. "I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm reminding you who built this company, who held it up when you disappeared into hotel suites and private jets and women half your age." He shoved his chair back. "This is slander. This is justice." Outside the boardroom, I let the adrenaline drain. Emma followed me. "You hit him hard. He'll regroup." "And the board?" "They'll follow money. If I show them where it's bleeding, they'll choose survival over loyalty." She handed me her phone. "You should see this." It was a headline. "The woman behind the empire, Lena Bennett breaks her silence." I didn't remember approving the interview, but I recognized the quote they used. I helped him build everything. And then I watched him burn it all down. It felt like breathing for the first time in years. That evening, I went to Sophie's office. She was already pouring bourbon into 2 glasses. "You shook the tree," she said, handing me a glass. "I did." "Anything fall out yet?" "Just a few snakes." She laughed. "Good. Let them slither." I sat down and ran a hand through my hair. "I want full custody." Sophie's eyes narrowed. "Of Elias?" "Yes." "You think Nathan will fight?" "He always fights." "Then we fight harder." She sipped. "What about the prenup?" "Void. Infidelity clause. We both signed it." "Then he's cornered." I looked at her, my voice steady. "Not yet. But he will be." That night, I opened a new notebook. At the top, I wrote, "Rules of war. Never strike first, but always finish. Never protect a man who wouldn't protect you. Power isn't given. It's taken. If they don't give you a seat at the table, build your own damn table. You don't lose your voice. You take it back." I underlined the last line. Then I turned off the lights. And slept. For the first time in weeks. The morning after the boardroom ambush, I woke to rain hammering against my bedroom windows. It was fitting. Storms have a way of cleansing. I brewed coffee in silence, the kind that feels like armor. No music, no distractions. Just me, the bitterness of caffeine, and the tension curling in my spine like a predator. Nathan hadn't called. Not yet. But he would. I took Elias to school myself. His little fingers curled around mine as we walked toward the gate. He looked up, his cheeks pink from the wind. "Are you okay, Mama?" I knelt to his level. "I'm great." "You know why?" "Why?" "Because I remembered how strong I am." He grinned, gap-toothed and radiant. "You're the strongest. I'll always be strong for you." He hugged me hard, one of those silent, full-body hugs kids give when they feel more than they understand. I held him a moment longer than necessary. Then I let go and walked straight into war. My phone rang as soon as I pulled out of the parking lot. Nathan. I let it ring twice before answering. "Enjoying the spotlight?" His voice was venom in velvet. "I'm enjoying the truth." "You think you've won something?" "Not yet, but I've started." "You just nuked your life, Lena. The board's furious. The press won't let up. Investors are spooked." "Maybe they should be." "You think I'll let you walk away with anything?" I smiled. "Nathan, I'm not walking away. You are." He hung up. Coward. Back home, Emma was already waiting in my kitchen, laptop open, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "Legal's combing through the accounts," she said. "It's worse than we thought. He didn't just embezzle. He rerouted pension funds." My stomach turned. Of course he did. He's never cared about people, Lena, only image. Control. I nodded. "Then let's dismantle both." She turned the screen toward me. "There's more. A property in the Bahamas. Paid for by the company. Listed under a fake LLC. Does he know we have this?" "Not yet." I leaned back. Time to let him sweat. Later that day, Sophie and I met with a PR firm. "They want an exclusive," Sophie said, scrolling through her phone. "CNN Business. A full-length interview." "No fluff?" "No fluff. Just you. Your story. What he did. What you're rebuilding." I paused. "Is this the right move?" "You already pulled the pin on the grenade. You might as well aim it." I laughed, more bitter than amused. "This is going to get ugly." "You're beautiful and ugly." That evening, I stood on the rooftop of my apartment building, the wind sharp, the lights of the city scattered below like shattered glass. I called my mother. She answered on the third ring. "Lena, I'm not asking for permission or advice." A pause. "You never have. But I want you to know. I'm going to fight him. For everything. For Elias. For myself." She exhaled slowly. "I spent 40 years pretending your father was a good man. I remember. And I watched you marry the same kind of man. My throat tightened. Not anymore. No, she said. Not anymore. We said nothing for a moment. Then she added, make him regret it. I already do. I sent the CNN contract back with one word. Yes. Then I opened my notebook and wrote down rule number 6. The louder they shout, the closer they are to collapse. Let him shout. Let the world listen. Because the storm? It wasn't coming. I was the storm. The CNN article dropped on a Monday. By Tuesday morning, my inbox was on fire. Subject lines screamed in bold, new face of corporate revenge. Lena Hart exposes former CEO husband, blood, betrayal, and $1 billion lie. It was surreal, watching my private collapse become headline material. But I wasn't shaken. Not anymore. I stood in the center of it all. Scandal, speculation, scrutiny, and felt steadier than I had in years. At school pickup, a few mothers avoided eye contact. One offered a pitying glance I refused to acknowledge. But then a woman I barely knew, Nicole, I think, stepped toward me. I just wanted to say, that was brave. I blinked. What was? She hesitated, then smiled. Everything. She squeezed my arm gently before walking away. It was small, but it mattered. That night, Sophie brought wine. Your face is everywhere, she said, plopping onto my couch. The Guardian ran it and reposted the video. I collapsed next to her, laughing. Have I officially become that woman? She raised a glass. To that woman. We clinked. For a moment, it felt like freedom. Then her expression changed. You should know, she said carefully. Nathan's pushing back. He hired a crisis team. They're digging hard. Let them. They might come after your past. I don't have skeletons, I said. Sophie raised an eyebrow. Well, maybe one or two. By Wednesday, the air had shifted. My lawyer forwarded an email from Nathan's legal team, an official claim accusing me of intellectual theft. Laughable. He claimed I stole trade secrets from his firm, the one I helped build from scratch. I laughed out loud reading it. Emma didn't. He's trying to flip the narrative, she warned. If he can't silence you, he'll try to smear you. So we respond? No. She grinned. We counterattack. I agreed to a televised interview. Live. No filters. Sophie tried to talk me out of it, but I was done hiding behind controlled narratives. The host was a woman named Ria Malik, sharp, calm, no nonsense. Before we went live, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Tell the truth. Don't sell it." I nodded, and then the red light blinked on. Lena, she began, the world has heard Nathan's side for years. Tell us yours. I looked directly into the camera. I married a man who said he loved me. We built a company. We had a child. And then he lied. Over and over again until I forgot what the truth sounded like. A pause. And now? Now I remember. The rest of the interview was a blur of facts and fire. Ria leaned forward at one point. If he asked for forgiveness? I didn't hesitate. He never asked for permission to destroy us. He doesn't get forgiveness for free. The interview aired live at 8 p.m. By 10 p.m., number Lena Hart was trending worldwide, and at midnight, Nathan showed up at my door. He looked terrible, unshaved, pale, wearing the same coat I bought him last winter. What do you want? I asked. To talk. I crossed my arms. We're done talking. Please. He sounded different, smaller. I let him in. He walked slowly through the living room like it was unfamiliar terrain. I saw the interview, he said. I figured. I never thought you'd do this. No, I said quietly. You thought I'd stay quiet, like always. He swallowed. This isn't you. You don't know who I am anymore. He didn't answer. I stepped closer. You cheated. You stole. You lied, but the worst thing you did was make me doubt myself. Silence. I want you to leave now. His shoulders sagged, and then, without a word, he left. Later, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to find the exact moment things had cracked. But maybe they never cracked. Maybe I had just finally stopped pretending they weren't broken. And so, I added one more line to my notebook. 7. When they say, "You've changed," it means they've lost control. Damn right I've changed. And I'm not done yet. I didn't expect the letter. It came 3 days after Nathan left my doorstep, wrapped in heavy cream-colored paper with no return address. My name was written in blocky uppercase letters. Inside was a single sentence, typed in courier font. You don't know everything about him. But I do. And below that, an address. Downtown. A law office I didn't recognize. At first, I thought it was a trap. Or a bluff. Or worse, some elaborate attempt to rattle me. But curiosity is a powerful drug. So I went. The receptionist barely looked up when I walked in. "Ms. Hart?" I nodded. "Room 3, he's waiting." He? I took the hallway slow. My boots echoed on the polished floor. The walls were lined with books I doubted anyone had ever read. Room 3 had no nameplate, just a worn brass knob. I turned it. And came face to face with Victor Ashby, Nathan's former business partner, the man who had disappeared from Harton Vale 5 years ago after a quiet departure. He looked older, gaunter, like someone had drained the fire from his bones. "Ms. Hart," he said. "Thank you for coming. What is this?" He motioned for me to sit. I didn't. "I don't want anything from you," he said, hands raised. "Just the truth. Yours. And mine." I stayed standing. He opened a folder on the desk. Inside were bank statements, emails, photos, blackmail material, against Nathan. "He did this to you?" I asked. He nodded. "And worse. I tried to go public. He crushed me." I stared at the papers. Fraud, bribery, falsified contracts, all buried under layers of offshore accounts and shell companies. "He always said you didn't need to know," Victor said, "that you were just the face, not the brain." I clenched my fists. He slid the folder toward me. "Take it, burn it, use it, but now you know." I walked out with the folder tucked under my coat like contraband, and I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just betrayal. This was rot. From the core, outward. That night, I called Emma. "You're not going to believe this," I said. By morning, we had a plan. Sophie and I met at our favorite diner. Burnt coffee, cracked vinyl booths, and pancakes the size of your head. She was already sipping her drink when I slid into the booth. "Okay," she said. "Your text was dramatic. Even for you." I handed her the folder. 30 seconds in, her jaw dropped. "This isn't just incriminating," she whispered. "It's nuclear." I nodded. "I want to go public. All of it." She looked up, her eyes sharp. "You realize what that means? This isn't gossip column stuff anymore. This is jail time level." Then let him sweat. The next move was the hardest. I had to tell my daughter. She was 12, sharp, intuitive, and already sensing something was off. We sat on the edge of her bed, her stuffed fox between us. "I need to tell you something about your dad," I said. She didn't flinch. "I know he did something bad," she said quietly. "You don't smile when you say his name anymore." I closed my eyes. She reached for my hand. "You're still my mom," she said, "and I trust you." I bit my lip, trying not to cry. "Thank you," I whispered. "I'm doing this for both of us." The press release went out on a Thursday morning. We didn't name Victor. We didn't have to. The evidence spoke for itself. Within an hour, 3 major outlets picked up the story. By noon, Nathan's legal team issued a statement calling it a coordinated smear campaign. I smiled. Let him squirm. That evening, I stood on the balcony of my apartment, watching the city pulse below. Sirens, laughter, late-night trains. It felt like a new rhythm, like I was finally in step with myself again. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Nice move, but you haven't won yet. No name, no signature, but I knew it was him. Nathan had never been one to go quietly, but neither was I. And that night, for the first time in months, I slept like a stone. Because secrets may haunt us, but the truth clears the air, even if it burns everything down first. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I watched the city lights flicker through my window as if the skyline itself was wrestling with what I was about to do. The documents sat on my dining table like silent witnesses. Each number, each transaction, each name whispered of a man who no longer feared consequence, but he should have, because I was done protecting him. By morning, I had a plan. First stop, the office of Meredith Kane, lead investigative journalist at the New York Herald. I hadn't seen her in years, not since I ghost wrote a profile for her during my time with Nathan. She didn't recognize me at first. Not with the heels, the straight posture, the sharpness in my eyes. But as soon as I dropped his name and the envelope on her desk, her expression changed. "This is massive," she muttered, flipping through the files. "Do you know what you're handing me?" "Yes," I said simply. "And I know exactly what it will cost him." She glanced up. "And you?" "I've already paid." She nodded slowly, then slid the envelope toward her keyboard. "Give me 72 hours. That was all I needed. Back outside, I dialed Sophie. "It's done." "I'll start prepping the response strategy," she said. "Nathan's not going to sit quietly." Number he wouldn't, but I was ready. I spent the rest of the day moving, closing accounts, calling lawyers, erasing old connections. If this went public, I'd be dragged into it too. Not as a victim, but as someone who knew, who waited too long to act. That night, Nathan called. I let it ring. Then I let it ring again. The third time, I picked up. "Lena," he said, breathless. "We need to talk." "We really don't." There was silence on the line, then the coldness I'd come to know too well. "You're making a mistake." "No," I said. "I made a mistake staying silent. I'm just correcting it." "You'll regret this." I smiled, though he couldn't see it. "Not as much as you will." I ended the call and stared at my reflection in the dark window. I wasn't the woman he broke. Not anymore. I was the reckoning. I didn't expect him to move this fast. By noon the day after our story broke, Nathan had already gone on the offensive. Not just a press release this time. A full-scale televised interview on one of the morning talk shows. Calm, charming, dressed in navy. That same voice he once used to lull investors, now weaponized against me. "She's unstable," he said. "She's upset. And I understand. But these accusations? They're dangerous. And completely false." I sat frozen on my couch, coffee going cold in my hand as I watched him dismantle me, piece by piece, in front of millions. I wasn't a whistleblower. I was a bitter ex. A disgruntled former partner who didn't understand the complexities of high-stakes finance. He didn't mention the folder. He didn't need to. He knew most people wouldn't dig deeper. But I knew the truth. And so did Sophie. "I have to respond," I said, pacing my living room. Sophie was already on the phone. "I'm getting you booked on the Journal. Live segment, tonight. You'll have 3 minutes. Use every second. 3 minutes to defend everything. My reputation, my sanity, my daughter's peace." I spent the afternoon preparing, practicing, rehearsing lines that sounded strong but not emotional, calm but not cold. I couldn't look like the angry woman, the hysterical ex. I had to look like the truth. When the camera light blinked red that night, I inhaled once and spoke. Nathan Cole built an empire on secrets. I helped him build it. But I won't help him bury the truth. No stuttering. No panic. Just fire. The clip went viral within hours. The comment section split like a fault line. Some called me brave. Others called me crazy. But I wasn't invisible anymore. That night, I got a text. Unknown number. If you think this is over, you don't know me at all. And for the first time, I smiled. Because I knew exactly who he was. And I wasn't afraid anymore. When the story broke, it was as if someone had detonated a bomb in the center of Nathan Cole's world. Billionaire tech mogul under investigation for fraud, insider trading, and coercion, whistleblower speaks out. Meredith didn't hold back. The article was brutal, factual, and damning. She had sourced every document, every shell company, every false deal. There were even hints of harassment claims, things I hadn't known, but suspected. She ended the piece with a quote from me. Anonymous, but unmistakably me. Silence isn't loyalty, it's complicity. Within hours, it was everywhere. Nathan's name trended on every platform. Share prices plummeted. Journalists camped outside his offices. His carefully curated public image, the philanthropist, the innovator, the charming CEO, unraveled thread by thread. And I watched it all with a strange kind of calm. Sophie came over that evening, a bottle of wine in one hand and her laptop in the other. We're officially in deep, she said, dropping into my kitchen chair. But it's working. I nodded. It's not about revenge anymore. She tilted her head. Then what is it? Redemption, I said quietly. For what I let happen. For what he made me. The doorbell rang. We both froze. I checked the peephole. It was Nathan. I didn't open the door. Not fully. Just enough so he could see my face and know this wasn't his space anymore. You're ruining both our lives, he said. He looked off. Not angry. Not smug. Just unsteady. No, I replied. You ruined your own. I just stopped cleaning up the mess. You think people will see you as a hero? I don't care how they see me. His voice dropped. You loved me. I met his eyes. I love the man you pretended to be. Then I closed the door. Behind it, I heard him curse. Punch the wall. Then footsteps fading down the hall. I turned back to Sophie, whose expression was unreadable. He's not going to stop, she said. I'm counting on it. I knew Nathan wouldn't go down quietly. Power like his didn't dissolve overnight. It clawed and hissed, and tried to take everything with it. Sure enough, 2 days after the exposé dropped, a counter-article appeared. Ex-assistant with history of mental health struggles makes outlandish claims against CEO. There it was. The first strike. He wasn't denying the facts. He was discrediting me. Sophie was livid. This is a smear job. He's weaponizing your past. He's afraid, I said calmly. And this is the only way he knows how to fight. He hadn't even waited a week before trying to break me down. He had leaked details from my therapy sessions. Things only he and his lawyers would have access to. Things I'd told him in confidence. Pain I had trusted him with. Sophie grabbed her phone. We're going to sue him for defamation. Not yet, I said. Let him think I'm backing down. Let him get cocky. Because I wasn't backing down. I was building a bigger case. That evening, I met Meredith in a quiet cafe. She slid a flash drive across the table. I traced the funnel accounts, she said. Nathan's been laundering money through non-profits. You're not the only woman he's silenced. I stared at the small device in my hand. How solid is it? Rock solid. And there's more. If you're ready to go deeper. I wasn't sure if anyone could ever be ready for that kind of truth. But I nodded. We had the fraud. We had the abuse. Now we had the corruption. Nathan thought he was playing chess, but I was rewriting the game board. I sat on the floor of my apartment that night, legs crossed, laptop open, headphones in. My heart raced as the video loaded, the one Meredith had given me access to. At first, it was just grainy security footage, a hotel hallway, quiet, nothing out of the ordinary. Then I saw them. Nathan and a woman. Not Sophie, not me. Someone else. She looked scared. He looked calm. Too calm. He placed a hand on her arm. She tried to pull away. He cornered her near the elevator. Words were exchanged. There was no audio, but I didn't need it. I could read the tension in every muscle. Then he stepped closer. She flinched. I paused the video. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was justice. The footage was dated. 3 years ago. A trip I remember him taking under the guise of a leadership summit. I had asked to join him. He said no. Too boring. He had laughed. I should have known better. I sent the clip to Sophie and Meredith in an encrypted group chat. 10 minutes later, Sophie called. "This is it," she whispered. "This is the crack in the armor." "I'm scared," I admitted. "Good," she said. "Use it." The next morning, Meredith and I met with a lawyer, a woman named Tessa Grady, sharp, brutal, and fearless, the kind of woman Nathan had never faced in court before. "We'll package it all," Tessa said, tapping through the files. "The financial records, the non-disclosure agreements, this video. You're building a war chest. And when we go public, you don't just take him down," she said. "You burn his kingdom to the ground." I walked out into the cold air feeling weightless, empowered, terrified. But more than anything else, ready. Nathan had spent years polishing his image, generous, brilliant, charming. I had the match, and the kindling. It was time to strike. The fallout didn't happen all at once. It came in whispers, in phone calls that ended too quickly, in doors that didn't open like they used to. Nathan's world was starting to fracture, and he knew it. First came the article, a carefully constructed exposé written by a journalist Meredith trusted. We'd provided everything, the contracts, the lawsuits he'd buried, the security footage. Names were redacted, dates were blurred, but the message was clear. Beneath the suits and speeches, Nathan Cole was a man who built his fortune on coercion, manipulation, and silence. It didn't name me, not directly, but everyone knew. He called me 3 times that night. I didn't answer. On the 4th, I let it ring out, then sent a single message. "You started this. I'll end it." Sophie stayed with me the next morning. We ate toast without speaking, both of us watching the news roll across the screen like waves. His stock price had dropped. Board members had issued concerned statements. And still, he hadn't responded publicly. I knew him well enough to understand what that meant. He was panicking. That evening, I walked into his office. He was there. Alone, for once. No assistants, no polished mask. Just a man watching everything crumble. "You've made your point," he said. "Have I?" He looked at me like he was trying to find the girl he once met. But she was gone, buried under years of excuses and gaslighting. "You want money?" he asked. "No," I said. "I want the truth. I want every woman you silenced to have their voice back." "That's impossible." "You made it possible," I said. "Now live with it." I turned to leave. "You loved me once?" he called out. I paused, just long enough to look back at him. "I did," I said. "But she doesn't live here anymore." And I walked out. Into the storm. Into my own power. Into the fire I had learned to wield. I didn't plan on crying that morning, But when I saw my mother's handwriting on the old recipe card tucked behind a bottle of cinnamon, I lost it. It was a dumb thing to break over. Just her instructions for lemon cake, in ink that had faded from years in the drawer. But seeing her script again reminded me that I came from strength. From women who built quiet power in kitchens and boardrooms, sometimes both. I wiped my face and snapped a photo of the card. Not for memories, but because I needed grounding. And then I picked up my phone. Sophie had sent me something at 2:14 a.m., a screenshot of a group chat. It was him. And her. Liam. I'm done with Lena. She was always too intense. Obsessed with fixing everything. The other woman, Sienna, apparently, had replied, Good. You deserve someone who doesn't need control to feel worthy. I stared at the screen, my pulse like thunder. Obsessed? Fixing everything? Was that what love looked like to him? Me trying to hold our world together while he tore pieces out of it? I didn't respond. I forwarded the screenshot to my lawyer. The day of the court hearing, I wore navy blue. Not black. Too tragic. Not red. Too loud. Just enough strength in the stitching to remind myself that I didn't come here to win him back. I came to win myself back. The room buzzed with whispers as Liam walked in. He looked tired, still handsome, still smug. I didn't flinch when he glanced at me, just sat tall, spine straight, voice steady. The lawyers spoke in formal tones, but underneath it all was fire. His side tried to paint me as emotional, erratic. Unstable since the miscarriage, they said. I didn't cry. Instead, I passed my attorney a folder with receipts, emails, and, at the top, a character reference letter from his former colleague. It read, Ms. Hart displayed nothing but composure, clarity, and empathy, even in the face of Mr. Bennett's volatility. The judge glanced at me. Liam's jaw clenched. I exhaled. The ruling came quietly. The court granted me full rights to the property I had paid for, the company shares I had built, the narrative I had carried on my back. Liam didn't look at me as he left the courtroom. Sophie met me outside with 2 coffees. You okay? Number. But I will be. We stood in silence for a moment. Then she pulled out her phone and showed me a design she was working on for our new startup. You sure you still want to do this? She asked. Yes, I said. Because it's not about revenge anymore. It's about rebuilding. We walked away from the courthouse, towards something of our own, not born from pain, but from the fire we survived.